Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to do my August Amazon haul for you. It doesn't matter how many times I tell myself that I'm not going to buy a lot of books from Amazon throughout the month. I buy a lot of books from Amazon throughout the month. So here we go. The first two books that I'm going to talk to you about I've actually already read, which you guys probably know is unusual for me. I buy books and then I have to sit on them for months at a time before I actually read them. But in this case, I read two. The first one is called The Stranger Inside, and this is by Jennifer Janes. It is the story of a mystery writer whose husband killed himself, and she takes her son and moves to a small town in Massachusetts where her daughter attends college. There's a serial killer on the loose in this college town, strangling college-age females, and our main character works at a suicide prevention hotline, and the killer calls in and talks to her. So I'm not going to say anything more about it. You'll have to stay tuned for my review, but this review will be coming up very, very shortly. Oh, I forgot to mention, Stranger Inside is a Thomas and Mercer book, which is an Amazon imprint, so it is only available at Amazon.com. Okay. The second book that I read already is called Hammers on Bone. This is by Cassandra Caw. Holy cow. It is just a very small slip of a book, and I think it's like 106 or 7 pages. This is the story of a private investigator who's approached by a 10-year-old boy to kill his stepfather. And it's one of the books that I'm reading for October. I'm going to try to bring you guys a lot of horror and thriller and supernatural thriller and books like that throughout the month of October. So it's going to be over a month before you get this review, but I liked it. The rest of the books that I have to talk to you about today, I have not read. So the first is called The Kind Worth Killing. This is by Peter Swanson, and this is the story of a man who meets a woman on an airplane, and they start talking about intimate details of their lives. He confesses that he's having problems in his marriage and that he would actually like to kill his wife. He's only sort of half serious, but then the woman says she'd like to help him kill his wife. And so the rest of the story is about the relationship between the two of them and the scheming and plotting of trying to get out of his marriage. I'm really excited to read this book. The next book is called I Let You Go. This is by Claire McIntosh, and this is the story of a woman who's lost her small child to a hit and run accident. She moves to like a remote cottage in order to try to deal with the death of her child. And so the story follows her, but it also follows the two police officers that are trying to get to the bottom of the hit and run accident. I have some suspicions about this book, but I'm not going to go into them. It says it has a killer twist. Paula Hawkins claims it has a killer twist, so I don't know. We'll see. The next book I picked up is self-published. It is called The Father of Lies, and this is by S.E. England. It is the story of a patient at an asylum named Ruby, and she's by far the most disturbed patient that they have. And her doctor one day decides to hypnotize her to try to help her recover from the trauma she's experienced. And the process of hypnotizing her unleashes some dark power or dark force into the asylum. So it sounded really good. I'm a little bit gun shy about self-published books of horror, but we'll see. The next book is called The Stopped Heart. This is by Julie Meyerson, and this is the story of a husband and wife who are starting over in the English countryside, and they move into a place where 150 years prior something happened that involved like a stranger showing up to this couple's home. And so the stranger sort of insinuated himself into the family and actually, courted, dated, pursued the daughter, and something terrible must have happened. And so from what it sounds, the present time couple are going to have to deal with the repercussions of whatever happened in this place 150 years ago. Sometimes I do things on purpose, and sometimes I do them completely on accident. This month I purchased 2 books from Amazon. One was brand new and one was used, both by Heather Gudenkauf. And the first is called Not a Sound. This is the one that I purchased new. It is the story of a nurse that loses her hearing through a tragic accident. And 2 years after, while she's still trying to acclimate to her new disability, she finds a dead body. And the investigation into that woman's death ends up bringing up some painful and frightening things for the main character. The second book I picked up by Heather Gudenkauf, I did buy it from Amazon used, which you can do. I don't know if you guys know that. It is called The Weight of Silence. This is the story of 2 different families who wake up one morning to find their daughters have gone missing. And one of the girls that goes missing does not speak. And the other girl that goes missing is her best friend, who has spoken for her since the trauma that she suffered. So the book is about these 2 families coming together and trying to find their 2 little girls. Tess Gerritsen says it's deeply moving, exquisitely lyrical powerhouse of a debut novel. So this was apparently her first, Heather Gudenkauf's first, and this one is relatively new. And I love this cover because it's like 3-dimensional. It's raised, it's textured, like all of these rings of water, you can feel them. It's amazing. It's beautiful. But anyway, I also managed to pick up 2 more books from Anya Alborn. Some book haul I did before had like 2 or 3 Anya Alborn books in it. She writes horror, but the first book that I picked up by her is Within These Walls. It is the story of a true crime writer who is given access to a death row inmate who is a mass murderer and cult leader. So he's given access to interview this mass murderer, and he's also given access to his compound where all of his cult-ish stuff took place. And the blurb implies that the spirits and the energy of the other cult members still active in this compound. So it sounds really good. I'm always attracted to fanatical religious stuff. I'm really excited to read this. Like, I think I might pick it up right away. Anyways, the next book by Anya Alborn that I picked up is called Brother, and it is about a family that lives in Appalachia, more specifically West Virginia. I'm a descendant of people from West Virginia, I guess, so that attracted me to it. But basically, it is about a family named the Morrows that live in West Virginia, and girls start going missing off the sides of the highway, but the cops kind of stay away from the Morrows, which is good because apparently they have something mysterious buried on their property. And there's one Morrow, 19-year-old Michael, who doesn't really agree with the things that the rest of his family does. God, this book sounds really good too. I want to read all the books. All of them. I want to own all of the books. I want to read all of the books. What happens when I buy from Amazon is that I read, the blurb that's on the website, and then I buy the book. It goes over there in a box and waits for my monthly Amazon haul. So I forget a lot about these books, and I forget why I bought them, and then going back and looking at them, I'm like, oh, I want to read it now. I'm so glad I bought this book. It sounds so good. Damn, I buy good books. Anyways, the next book is called The Vanishing Year. This is by Kate Moretti, and it is the story of Zoe, who is married to a Wall Street tycoon, and she's hot shit in Manhattan. And unfortunately, what nobody knows is that 5 years ago, Zoe wasn't Zoe. She's got quite an interesting past that led her to reinvent herself or change her identity. And of course, nothing stays buried and those secrets come back to haunt her. Interestingly enough, this book has a quote on it, quotation. This book has a quotation on it from Heather Gudenkauf. So I can't escape. But anyways, the woman that I bought 2 books from this month says, "A chilling, powerful tale of nerve-shattering suspense with a throat-gripping twist." That's a good throat-gripping twist that will leave the reader reeling. I'm either going to come out of this experience really loving and appreciating Heather Gudenkauf or really angry at her, depending on how good these books are. The next book that I bought from Amazon is called, could I talk any slower? The Girl You Lost, and this is by Catherine Croft. And this is another one that I purchased used. This is a story about a couple whose baby was abducted 18 years ago. And then one day, a woman shows up claiming to have information about their missing child. And then she vanishes. I imagine the couple gets all up in a tizzy again just for the woman who knows things to vanish. How frustrating. That's going to be a frustrating book. I forgot I got this one too, but this is another self-published book that I purchased from Amazon by Annie Taylor. It's called The Six. And it's, if you can hear my fiance doing lawn maintenance, I'm really sorry. So The Six is about 28 people who are taken to a remote place in order to play kind of a game. They each have a unique and crippling addiction. And so they have 6 days to complete 6 challenges, and the prize is $60,000. It says it's a serial killer story. A dark, slow burn serial killer story that dazzles with an explosive ending. So again, I'm taking a risk on a book that I don't know a ton about by a self-published author, but it sounds really good. The next book has been around for a while. It's called I Am Not a Serial Killer. This is by Dan Wells, and it is the story of a teenage boy who is obsessed with serial killers and dead bodies, and he's really living his life by a set of very strict rules to kind of keep his darkest desires in check. So, like I said, I think this was published in 2010, and it says now a major motion picture. I haven't seen the movie. I didn't really know much about this book, but I'm excited to read it. Like, I'm excited to read everything. This is another self-published book, but it's a self-published romantic suspense. And I read self-published romances a lot more often than I do thrillers or horrors. But this is called Amnesia, and this is by Cambria Hebert. And it is the story, literally, of a woman who washes up on the edge of a lake, and she's rescued by him. She's found by a man, and she has amnesia. She can't remember who she is or how she ended up floating around on a body of water. So the story is about them trying to solve the mystery of her. And this is actually book 1. Amnesia and Amnesty are the 2 books. I haven't purchased Amnesty yet, so I haven't read Amnesia yet. I don't like a cliffhanger. I don't like having to wait to find out what happens. So it'll probably be something that I read as soon as I purchase the second book. So short of those 3 self-published books that I mentioned, I only had The Stranger Inside and this book, The Weight of Lies, that are actually books that are only available at Amazon because they are published by Amazon. So The Weight of Lies is by Emily Carpenter, and it is about a young woman who begins investigating the true crime story that inspired her mother's best-selling novel. And what she ends up uncovering is actually devastating to her and her family dynamic and the relationship between her mother. It is kind of more... It's not being marketed really as a mystery or thriller. It's kind of being marketed more as a family drama. So different from what I would read. I don't read a lot of literary fiction or family dramas. So if I'm going to read anything even remotely reminiscent of that, it has to have elements of suspense or thriller or mystery or romance, or it's got to have a little speck of genre thrown in there in order to interest me. But this one does interest me. I'm excited to read it. Again, it's The Weight of Lies. Lastly, and I don't know why I saved this book for last, but I picked up a used copy of The Breakdown by B.A. Paris. The story behind me purchasing this is that I did a book exchange with Kat from Kat's Bookend, channel will be linked, where I gave her I'm Thinking About Ending Things, and she gave me Behind Closed Doors by B.A. Paris. I really loved, well, we both really loved Behind Closed Doors, and so I made it a point to seek out other works by B.A. Paris, and I came across The Breakdown. Now, this is a story about a woman who comes upon a stranded motorist, and she chooses not to stop. And then that stranded motorist ends up dead. She feels like had she stopped, had she done something different, then this woman would still be alive. And so the book deals with her guilt and her paranoia that other people know that she's responsible for this woman's death. So I thought it sounded interesting. And like I said, I really liked B.A. Paris's book, Behind Closed Doors. I'm anticipating that I will enjoy this one as well. That's it. And I say that's it with... Who are we kidding? That's enough. It's not it, it's enough. That's enough. As always, if you've read any of these titles, if you have questions about them, or if you have predictions about whether or not I will enjoy them, leave those in the comment section for me below. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all very soon.